how do we accept God's no? And do we even know when God is saying no?
Yeah, I would say sometimes I don't read the room well, and so I may not catch sometimes when God is telling me no the first time. So I'm one of those saints that need a couple reminders that He said no. But in the event that I catch it the first time, I strive to take some time to reflect, take some time to lean into the discomfort. I think that we're in a culture where things move so fast and folks want to jump so quick. Yet I've learned the importance of, if you don't take the time to process it, then you won't really be able to respect the decision or understand it. So I think for me, that's where I kind of start.
And if you don't take the time to process it, you find yourself trying to manipulate it to happen.
I think it's so important to kind of just sit in that decision, whatever that decision is. But as you mentioned too, just kind of being able to learn how to pivot. Like, that's not the end of, everything, but just being able to be clear minded so that you're able to see, like, hey, what went wrong the first time, or what can I do different from that to be able to move on.
Good afternoon, everyone. We are working through some technical difficulties on the audio. Please, in the comment section, let us know if you're able to hear anything. In the audio section, please let me know if you're able to hear me now. I'm speaking. Give me a couple seconds. What about now? So we've got the audio looping. Yeah, we got messages. Are they able to hear me? Yeah, that's what I was trying to get straight right now. This is going to. Shoot. Pick up, stand up, sit up, stand up. Right. Are y'all able to hear us in here now? See if we see anything else. All right.
What's his name? Nelson?
Elson?
Yeah, he said it's good.
It's good now? Okay. But you're hearing me talking. I need to get some audio system going. This is not. Give us a minute. And we're going to get this from here. So I can try to get this audio in the system. Let me just do something. Audio. I'm gonna get it typed in once, going out once, and once. Okay. I think I see what I did. I think I see what I did. Bear with us. We'll be right with you. All right, we're going to test a little bit more. Great, y'all can hear our conversation. Appreciate that. Let's see if you can hear Eric and them. All right, now we're going to try the audio now. How's the audio now?
All right, how is everybody sounding? Do we sound good to you all? Can you hear us? Is it an echo?
I think it's still an echo.
You say you think it's still echo?
It might be. I don't know. My God. I
Uh-oh.
hope the echo goes away. In the name of Jesus.
And then talk louder, Courtney.
All right. Will you come?
All right, yeah, come on.
All right.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to yet another Caya broadcast. Before we even get into this conversation, we just want to say thank you for sticking on with us. We've had some audio issues. Technology happens, things happen, but hey, we are pressing on in the name of Jesus for this marvelous conversation. So we just want you now, we might not have the full hour, it might be a 50-minute segment, but nonetheless, it is going to be a very rich conversation on tonight. So again, I'm your host, Reverend Eric Edwards. It's our joy to be with you all on tonight. We're back from our sabbatical from August, so we are definitely glad to be talking about this conversation on tonight. So I'm gonna allow you all to introduce yourself. So start over here, Reggie, man. How are you doing?
I can't complain, man. I'm glad to be here. Glad to be in front of you guys. So
Yeah, good to have you here.
Conversation. Yeah.
Good to have you here. Who is this new face right here?
Yes, my name is Courtney. I'm so excited to be here. I always used to watch it online, so I'm so blessed to be a part of it today.
Yeah, welcome, Courtney.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Hey everybody, I'm Cameron. It's my third time and I'm still excited to be here and chat with everybody.
Welcome, Cameron. And then we have another new face.
Yes, my name is Kelly. My first time, being invited and accepting. Yeah, I'm glad to be here. It's going to be a good discussion today.
We're glad to have you two on. And then also before we get started, we just want to give a shout out to our whole Caya team, Ashley, Tierra, Junior, Janae, and you all's absence. But thank you all for the role that you played and how this Caya turned out. Also, those behind the scene, thank you all so much for your hard work and dedication. So let's get to it, fam. On tonight, we're talking about a very good conversation, right? A timely discussion because of the times in which we're living in. So we're talking about spiritual tune-up, right? Making sure that we're centered and focused on God with the thing of, yes, focusing on God.
Yeah.
Right? So sometimes, right, following God and existing in this world can be challenging.
Yeah.
Truly, it can be difficult trying to remain God-led only by God, right? It's difficult trying to just be God-centered. It's difficult only focusing on God because there's so many things that just seems to be pulling and calling and grabbing for our attention. And the real question that a lot of us Christian young adults have during these days are about fourfold. How can I remain centered on God while there are so many things that are occurring in the world? How can you remain centered and focused on God when somebody comes out with a new spiritual idea or practice? Like social media is filled with that these days. It's like something new every week. How can you remain connected? How can you remain centered rather than focused on God when there is something new that is trending on social media every single day? And then how can you remain focused on God when there's another new thing that social media said that you should be doing? So, it constantly seems like you're trying to focus on God. And there's so many things distracting and sidetracking you and pulling for your attention because the chatter is just loud in this world.
Yes.
Yeah.
But although this is true, right, there's good news.
Yeah.
God is constantly speaking and revealing God's self to us.
Yeah. That's
Right, to all y'all watching on Facebook and YouTube, God is constantly speaking and revealing God's self to us. The Lord is constantly reaching out to us so that we can forever be touched and transformed by God. In other words, the I am that God spoke to Moses, God is still speaking that same I am to us today, right? The blessing about fellowship with the Lord is that God promises to be our all. And when we focus and center ourselves on the Lord, we will discover that fulfillment is found in God alone.
That's right.
And Lord, we have everything we need.
For real.
Sorry, I think you're talking from experience, right?
Yeah, God alone, it's easy to have, you know, your curiosity piqued, you know, with certain things, and, you know, you might want to tiptoe and say, oh, what is this? And then, you know, God is quickly reminding you, like, that's not the way. You know, shut it down right now.
The discernment comes in.
Yeah, Cameron, I know you go to college. So Cameron, she go to UNC Chapel, UNC Charlotte. UNC Charlotte. She's graduating. Congratulations, Cameron. We all know a lot of distractions that college students are encountering. If you wouldn't mind, just share a couple of what some of those challenges and distractions are these days.
Y'all, they like to be out late, and I have these early classes, and it's hard for me to say, oh no, I'll wait till the weekend to go out, because those college students be out every single night. So it's a little challenging for me. But I had to look at the end goal and understand that, yes, God will get me through, but if I'm doing all this and not also putting in the work, then God's going to be like, okay, I'm going to watch you go ahead and mess up, and then I'll teach you after. I don't want to learn that hard lesson, so I had to go ahead and start being more mature and making those decisions for myself and pray about it and say, Lord, give me strength.
Yeah. There's a lot of others. I mean, in y'all various friends, in y'all various friend groups, what other challenges or, you know, difficulties, things that you just see arising, and just these times we live in, right? The election is coming up in November. That's a major distraction. We're not getting into it tonight, but Diddy, major distraction.
Yeah.
It's like national news. I go on Instagram every day. You see something, a Diddy look now. It's like, stop.
Yeah, I want to comment on how you just said, like, how you go on Instagram and you see it. And so, like, I like to do social media breaks, actually, because it can get overwhelming with all the noise, being on social media, seeing what everybody's reposting and liking, and it's just filtering out that noise, so we can't focus on God.
Yeah.
Because they want us to focus on that, but they don't have nothing to do with that.
Exactly. Yeah. So let's jump into, you know, one of our first topics on tonight, which are horoscopes, zodiac signs, astrology, right? What trends do you all see with young adults, you know?
I feel like I see a lot on TikTok. Someone posts a video of their boyfriend doing something crazy, and everyone's in the comments, oh, I know he's a Sagittarius. Oh, I know he's an Aries. And everyone has a different one. They're like, oh, I just know. Yeah. So that, to me, that just proves that maybe there's not a lot of truth in this, but I see everyone getting into the trend. And then it's hard for me, being young and impressionable, to not try to follow suit, because I see everyone doing it.
Right? Yeah. No, I think that's so true. I mean, I was reading online the other day that said, immediately if somebody, you know, wants to talk to somebody, and they're like, you know, what's your zodiac sign? They say, for instance, Gemini. They're like, I can't talk to you because my horoscope said don't talk to a Gemini today. And if I talk to you, something bad might happen.
I was at a job interview and she asked me what my zodiac sign was. Like, it's everywhere.
So
true.
But what about in the instances where people feel as though those things are accurate, right? Like, what do we have to say about that?
With that, I feel like that's when you remember who God called us to be. And I know that with the zodiac signs, that's where it can cause confusion, because technically the world says I'm an Aries, and that wants to say I'm hot-tempered or angry, but God has called us to be loving and patient and kind. And you don't realize how many blessings you can be blocking. That might have been the person God sent to bless you, but I thought you were an Aries or a Sagittarius, so I can't talk to you. So I feel like even though as much as we can't find some type of truth in them, we have to remember what God said is the truth. But it's true. A lot of people find it accurate.
I 100% agree. And also, what about this whole phenomenon of using horoscopes to kind of guide you throughout your day? Right?
No. You know, back when I was in high school and I was really focusing, waking up and looking at the horoscopes, I go to one page, it'll say one thing, and if I don't like it, I'm going to a different site. So, you know, at that point in time, even in my ignorance, I was like, this, you know, if I could just go to a different site and get a different, you know, reading for the day, then how true can this be? You know what I'm saying? And so now it's like, if you continue to just focus on God, you don't have time to try to think about a horoscope or anything else, you know, to try to tell you how your day is going to be, or, you know, when you'll meet this special person or anything like that. So I just, you know, the more you know.
Can you share your analogy that you shared earlier? Because I think that's going to be helpful for a lot of people.
Okay, so what were we talking about?
We were talking about like
where is that source coming from?
Okay, yeah. So we talked about how, you might read your horoscope for the day and it could be correct. So it's like, this might be accurate. And so the analogy I gave was if you go to, Neiman's and you purchase a bag, and you have someone who is, a booster, that's somebody who stole from the actual store, but they're selling it at a discounted price, and you purchase the same bag, yes, it's the same outcome. You have the same bag. However, the source that you got it from is different. And so you have to remember the source that the information is coming from. So even though it might feel like, I went to sleep and I was anxious and I'm reading this and it says, something like this is going to happen today. And it might happen. Yeah. However, at that point, you still have to think about, okay, God is my source.
Yeah. He's in control.
Correct.
That's why a lot of us, even back then, like you said, like in high school, like I definitely used to look at horoscopes. And maybe it made me feel more like I had control of my day, but that's when we have to have faith and walking with by sight, not by sight, because we can't have control,
I want to ask a deeper question there. Okay. Can faith in God and then reliance on a horoscope, something to guide your day, can the two coexist at the same time? In you all's opinion?
No.
Because that's not true blind faith. Like, true blind faith is walking not knowing what tomorrow's going to look like, what this next second is going to look like. And when you use the horoscopes, that's like, okay, well, I know God said this, but in the back of my head, my horoscope said everything's going to be okay. And that's not truly relying on God.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think in the Bible it talks about all these false gods that like the Israelites followed, but we don't realize that today we still have false gods. And the horoscopes, in my opinion, is sort of like a false god that we're following. Like, so when you put it in that perspective, it's like, thank y'all.
I like that. I mean, if y'all believe it or not, horoscopes really are extremely old. I mean, they're about 3,000 to 4,000 years old.
Wow.
Because it starts with the reading of astrology.
Okay.
Wow.
So I did some research. Because I myself was interested. Okay, well, how did astrology, horoscopes, zodiac signs, like how did these things start? It's just not limited to the 21st century, and it surely wasn't limited to the 20th century. Well, y'all, these things really go back to like 2,000 years before Jesus.
Wow.
Is that all? Is that all? So let me break it down to you, right? So to keep it simple, horoscopes are based on astrology, right? It's based on the positioning of the stars and the planets. So for astrologists, the positioning of the stars and the planets determine one's personality traits and path in life. And this is where the zodiac signs come in, right? Because that's based on your personality and date as well. Right, so that depending on the date that you was born,
and time even.
Your time is up, and then depending on the light of the stars, that is like that determines for astrologers what your horoscope, what your zodiac sign is. Okay. So at its most basic level, for those following astrology, this is how they make sense of life. It's how they understand life events. So again, astrology is older than Christianity. It's been here for thousands of years. It actually originated in the year 2000 to 1000 BC.
All right. Long before.
So about 3,000 years ago.
Wow. Long before we were here.
Nowhere near thought of.
Wow.
Nowhere near. From the Babylonian understanding, right, their gods sent signs through celestial events. Or in other words, what's happening in space. That was their belief. For them, they believed that what was happening in space were signs of what's going to happen in society, things that will happen in the future, if a famine was going to happen, or if the king should make a certain ruling. So due to this belief, those kings would task those Babylonian priests with reading the positioning of the sky and to anticipate what would happen so that they could formulate a proper response. Over time, the use of astrology changed. In Greek culture, they believed that the gods could speak to people personally. Hence, gods. It wasn't uncommon for people to have relics or icons, little statues and figurines. It wasn't uncommon for them to have it in their house. So when the Babylonians merged with the Greeks, you see a change in practicing astrology. It starts to be more personalized when the Greeks and the Babylonians mix. It moves from something dealing with the state to then it moves to, okay, well, me and my personal household, what's going to happen to me? And then from there, we get our modern use, horoscopes, right? So that's how horoscopes came. And just to really think about this, if our faith is predicated on God is the one who holds tomorrow for us, that we necessarily don't need to know what's going to happen tomorrow because our Lord is with us. Our Lord has got us. But then somebody go and read a horoscope that say, well, at this time tomorrow, you know, your manager is going to get on your nerves. So check your anger now. Like how is this coexisting? Because you have a whole lot of Christians, even pastors, who's using horoscopes, you know, to help to guide them. And it's like, for me, I think my question is, well, where is the trust and faith in God? You know, how can you trust that God got you tomorrow if you're already looking at tomorrow and trying to anticipate how you should handle it? It's a true question. It's a true question I have. And that's just my honest thoughts about it, to be honest. Because if God is truly, if we're truly focused on God, then that means whatever comes tomorrow, God got us. And we know that God will lead us to what we should do.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah. So then, you know, then questions arise, do we need supplementary things?
No.
To accompany. Okay, that was a quick note.
The answer is always going to be no. You just have to remember if God is, you know, who you think he is to you, then you would trust that your life is in his hands and he knows all, and you know what I'm saying, it's going to guide you. So that's just like faith, the literal definition of, you know, just not knowing, but knowing that God got your back. So, you know.
The substance of things, so forth, evidence of things that's not seen.
Yeah. So, no.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. I wholeheartedly agree. So let's move on to our next topic of conversations. When we was in the Caya planning, we were talking about what one reason why people might turn to horoscopes is because you have this attraction to uncertainty.
Yep.
You want to know what you don't know now. And this sparked the question for me because y'all, faith with God is like constant. It's tough because there's so many uncertainties always around.
We cannot lean on our own understanding.
Exactly.
We're really called to not lean on our own understanding.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like God may put a purpose on you, call you to a new city, and you don't know how you're going to make it. That's a major uncertainty. So here's a deep question that I really want you all to reflect on, because I think during moments when we don't understand God, we can tend to lose focus on God.
Yes.
Right, when God is not making sense, we can start to use other things to kind of help us to provide those concrete answers that we feel as if God hasn't given us. So here's the question I want to wrestle with now. Are you comfortable with a God you can't always understand? Does something shatter, kind of shake you when you think about following God that you can't understand?
No, it doesn't shake me. It just has me kind of go deeper into my faith. A lot of things happen that we just do not understand. But I think God uses those moments to kind of draw us closer to him, to pray, to fast, and to do things so that you can hear his voice and, kind of like she said earlier, discern, what decision you might need to make. So, yeah. It's so
what I was going to say is, it's not easy at all. And I think what helps me, because it's not that I'm comfortable with it, but I still love God because of all he's shown spoke to me through my life. And whenever I'm at church, though, when I come to church on Sunday and I'm around so many like-minded people, it just reminds me to keep going. Like, whatever I'm going through, that valley I'm in right now, I know it's going to be okay, even though it doesn't feel comfortable. It's just like somewhere to just settle in. He's the same God. I know he never tells a lie. Like, I can trust him.
Right.
So it's just like reminding ourselves in those moments when it is uncomfortable.
Yeah. And I think one thing when it comes to God is we shouldn't expect God to just give us the answers.
Yeah,
all the
we
time.
can never understand his ways.
Yeah, we can never understand his ways, nor should we expect to.
Yeah.
I like what pastors say when he say, right, but where we have this Bible as this guide, this human interaction between God and humanity, it doesn't encompass everything about God.
Right.
You actually start to think, like, there's things not in the Bible about God.
Yes. Wow.
We just don't know.
Yeah.
I think not to this very moment.
Really?
That is so real. Like, it's even more to God than that's even in the Bible. I love that.
I mean, because I think it speaks to we being creation shouldn't expect to just figure everything out about God.
Yes, that is very true.
Yeah.
Well, and I think too, to your point, and I'm just kind of like processing everything too. When we were talking about like discomfort, right? And then I feel like me personally, right? Like in my journey, I felt closest to God when I was going through those uncomfortable times. So I don't know what there is, like what's there.
That's solid ground.
Yeah.
Because everything else, like friendship with you or anything else, in like job, you lose your job, like it's that one comfort ground, like that solid ground.
God is there.
Absolutely.
I think it's something, just marvelous about what you said. You said we just dig into it. In the midst of this uncertainty, God is there. Because it's like God really places you in a position to where you literally can only rely on.
That's right. Every single time I talk to you, that's against the wall. And it's like, you know what?
That's right. Turn to, but God help me.
And I think, sorry.
No, go ahead, Rachel.
And I was going to say too, I was thinking about this the other day because like even in those moments when I like reflect on it, and I think about how he has brought me through like many of these, trials and tribulations. It's, it's not like you thank him for it, right? But it's like he does it in such like a smooth way to where it's like it's not like loud and braggadocious. It's just so pure.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then it's like, dang, like I need more of that. It's just so true and certain. But like you have to know like that's what that is, So.
Going off of that, there's sometimes I'm going through stuff and I literally ask God, I'm like, God, why am I going through this? I'm like, God, I'm following you. I'm tired and I'm doing this and that. And I'm still going through this. I'm like, God, like I trust you, but I just don't understand. You just have to be honest with God. And I tell you, every time he gives me that answer, it may be a day later, it may be a year later, but I always get my answer. And I'm like, you know what? I'm glad I trusted him and did not seek anything else.
Like they say, it's like no test without the testimony without the test.
Yes,
like everything we going through is truly to help someone else later too. So like when we go through it, it's gonna be a testimony later. I love that.
I think one thing that a lot of young adults have to lean into when it comes to having faith, just in obscurity, during moments where you're just uncertain and you don't know, is that God is still speaking and revealing God's self in the obscurity. Okay, so I just preached a sermon. And I think one thing that fascinated me, because I'm trying to find a relevant life issue in my life, where like, let me just go through a sermon and I just preach. I mean, because I kept wrestling with it. I mean, it's 1 Samuel, chapter 8. And I'm just thinking, all right, it's when Israel asked for a king. And God, Samuel goes to God and say, but Lord, what should I do? And then God say, do what they say. Give them a king. Now, for me, I kept wrestling with it, coming like, God, why would you play a part in your own denunciation as Lord over these people and give them a king? Right? They're no longer going to be guided just by you. It's going to be a king now that you're going to have to work through to then lead the people.
Yeah.
And I kept wondering, why, God, why?
Why? Yeah.
It didn't make it to the sermon, but one of the answers I just kept thinking, well, obviously, God has plans to work through the king, saying that he doesn't know it right now.
Yep.
And then God says these words, just as they've done to you. I mean, just as they done to me, they're also doing to you.
Yeah.
So I started thinking, now, God, how is this good news? And in there, I saw commonality between God and Samuel. Right? God saying, but I'm with you in the obscurity. Even though I told you to give them a king, I didn't tell you why. I just told you to do it, do as they say. And I told you that, you're being rejected. I'm being rejected. But so it's like, why? But after all of that, you see commonality and you see God basically saying, we're in this thing together.
Yeah.
Right? They're doing the same thing to me. They're doing the same thing to you. We're in this thing together. And I think that's so much of our story. God can do something in our life. God can put us in this growing and maturing season, this season that we may think is stagnation, and seasons we don't even understand.
I want to be here.
I want to be here. It has to be there. And then God is just still revealing God's self. Yeah, I think just the difficult thing is, right, discerning how God is revealing God's self.
Yeah.
In those obscure seasons or those obscure moments, those uncertain moments. That's the difficult thing.
I agree. I think some people feel like maybe God is speaking to me through these horoscopes daily. And you have to discern, is he or is that someone writing those? And it's hard when it feels like it does speak to you. When you're in really hard times, I feel like you kind of grasp at anything to help get you through. And if you see something even remotely close to what you're going through, then that's for me. That's for me. You have to realize that not everything is for you. Not everything is from God. Yeah. And also, the devil knows when you're going through hard times too. So he knows, I know exactly what you're doing. And so quick. And let her read that, So this the devil knows what's going on too.
Yeah, because I actually really wanted to say this Bible verse. So Ephesians 6:12, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against the evil principalities of the world. So it's like, we have to remember, like, as much as God is always for us, it's something out there actually trying to work against us too, because that's why we're called to be the light. So it's just, in times like this, it just is so important to rely on the word. Like, okay, I know God said in Joshua 1:9, he said he'll never leave me. Do not be discouraged, for I am with you wherever you go. So no matter what valley I'm going through, because I feel like I'm going through a valley now. I know God is with me, like, it's just remembering those. Try to hear his voice.
And so we actually just got a Bible study this weekend. Okay. The Ephesians. It's a dualistic battle. It's not just with, the enemy. That's one. It's also with ourselves. We have agency.
That's much.
Okay, so I said this. I'm going to say it again. Everything that happened is not the devil.
That's true. Yeah. Even Pastor Scott said that sometimes look in the mirror. I love it. It was I love that. Like, look in the mirror. That's the person sometimes that's against you.
Exactly.
Now, I believe sometimes the devil's sitting back and saying, why is my name being brought up? Point fingers.
Instead of be holding accountability.
Yeah.
That's exactly.
And that's the thing, right? Well, we also led ourselves down this rabbit hole because maybe we haven't postured ourselves to even try to hear from God in this season, right? When God isn't answering, God isn't speaking, we want to find the answer quick.
Right.
Yeah.
So what do we do, right? Go to those horoscopes. Because we know the horoscope can speak.
Those questions.
See, I don't remember.
No, seriously. Like, even on my old job, I remember when it would be a full moon, they were like, it's the full moon, y'all. That's why everybody acting crazy. Like, I don't know. It's just,
it's just a natural event taking place in space where the moon go through its phases of half a moon, full moon, quarter of a moon. Yeah, it's a cop out.
Yeah, it is.
I'm just like this because that's how it meant. I know.
That's who you are as a person, and you can change that, but
it's uncomfortability.
Yes. When you let those things define you, that's who you become.
Yeah, that's so true. The word of metaphor. So I want to say, I had heard this like that we want like a microwave God when he's more like a crock pot God. Like
It's right.
Because that is it's like a whole. You are in a generation of instant, and that's not the case.
It's a lifelong journey with God.
That's right.
It's literally a lifelong journey.
Yeah.
I mean, what you think you know about God now, you'll know more 50 years from now.
Yeah.
What the wisdom you might have now, you'll know more 50 years from now. It's a little, the thing that grounds me is seeing the push and pull between Jacob and God in Genesis 32, right? Where Jacob wrestles God. And because I see my life as a constant battle between what I want and what God wants. But over time, like Jacob saw, right, well, what God had for me was way better.
Always.
And I think that's one thing that young adults have to find. It's a part of their journey, but also it's part of just the beauty of relationship with God. That over time, God really reveals God's own self in the midst of our life.
Yeah.
That's right. Right when you reach your breaking point, and then he's like, "Here you go."
Pastor Scott had said that one time too. That thank God for the prayers he didn't answer.
Yeah,
he would have gave you what you prayed for. Why that is so good. God, even a no from God is protection. I love that.
Matter of fact, Pastor said in the Bible study about 2-3 weeks ago, sometimes God's no is better than God's yes.
Ooh,
that's right.
That's real.
Because just think all the implications that might come with God's yes.
He knows. That's what they say. Like, he knows the conversations we don't hear.
Yeah.
He knows that next step before we make it, when we think it's best.
Exactly. So let's shift it again. And staying in just still this kind of reflection on faith and focus on God. Because one thing that'll mess up your ability to focus on God, or even your following it and centering yourself on God, is when you feel like the blessings stop. When you feel like you in these seasons where everything, the windows of heaven is just open, all this stuff pouring out, door open over here, door open over here, you get a raise over here, and the next thing you know, you just feel like it comes to an end. So how does being attached to the things that God gives, attached and attracted to the things that God gives and does for us, how does that impact our focus on the Lord, right? How does that do? I know it's probably a deep, reflective question.
Very deep.
It just reminds me when they say, like, God's not a genie, though. And it's like you can't be after him just for what he can do for you. Just having his presence, just to be in his presence is enough. Like, reminding yourself to be content. But you're right, that's a good question.
Yeah, I like that presence piece. Because a lot of us forget that time. I mean, God just want to just be with us.
Like, he really just wants you to talk to him like a phone call. Like, just, hey.
I mean, I think too, like, once you get to the point when you recognize that, like, all these material things mean literally nothing.
Nothing.
Like, like, once you get to that understanding, then it's just like, okay, like, what's important? Then it's like salvation, like those type of things. Like, that's what you should really like rest on. So, but I think it takes people different things to go through, like different amounts of time to actually get there. So, I mean, I'm never here to judge anybody for how long it takes them to get there. So,
me neither.
Yeah.
We all start somewhere.
In our culture, I mean, right now we have a big attraction to it.
Yeah.
Marcus.
No, it is.
I'll point to you that.
At the end of the day, all of those things are gonna go away, and it won't matter.
That's why we place our presence in heaven. We said place our things on above. Heaven, store our riches in heaven.
Yeah. Just from knowing that God does more than physical things. A lot of things God do for us too is also spiritual.
It's no price you can put on your peace. I love that they say, like, if it costs you your peace, it costs too much. Like, that is so real.
Absolutely.
Who said that?
I don't know, but I thank you for saying it because it stuck with me.
If it costs you your peace,
it costs too much.
It costs too much. That's a good one.
Yeah, you reflect on that.
So then let's go deeper on it. well, what's the danger of focusing on what God does
Focusing on
instead on focusing on who God is? But what's the danger in this?
Well, then when he stops, you're like, well, where are you, God? And then that's when you start to lose faith. But if you are always focusing on him and who he is, then you would never have a reason to lose faith. And I had to find out that the hard way, unfortunately. I'm like, God, well, like, what's happening? Like, you were blessing me so much, and then now you're not. I'm like, okay, like, are you really here for me? And then he showed me, like, he is always here for me. I just need to trust in him and who he is and not what he gives me.
Yeah, that's good.
No, I like that. Yeah.
And we just never know. Like we said, we can't ever understand what God is doing. So if we get too caught up trying to worry about that, we're doing ourselves a disservice because we literally will never know.
Exactly. And Eric told me, he said, sometimes God is working and you don't even know.
That is true.
So much. I'm like, he's probably working right now for this situation.
Yeah. Because God is doing a lot of behind the scenes work. I think that's one thing that gets us caught up in these moments where we feel like God stopped.
Yeah.
Because we feel like God stopped.
Right.
When things stop, when we feel as if the blessings are stopped, we feel like God has stopped. And then it takes us down a rabbit hole of maybe I did something that made God stop.
Yes. I always wonder, what if I didn't do anything?
Yeah. Even told friends tell them that maybe, what did you do? When they really, in reality, he didn't do anything.
Well, we go down these rabbit holes. Well, maybe I said something last week. I shouldn't have said. Maybe I went somewhere. Maybe God is mad at me.
That's anxiety.
And it's like, no. It don't one. I know we don't. Sometimes the language of win can be problematic, but you can't win all the time.
That's true. Like this generation of always the messages are always positive. Like it can't always be a winning season. Sometimes God is saying, "Be still." That's real. I wanted to be my
Sometimes we need to be placed in these growing and maturing and developing seasons. Sometimes you need to sit down in the Word and just spend time with God.
You do. It's so true.
Sometimes don't ask God for a thing that don't ask God to open a door every single day.
That's real.
How do you really got to just spend some time with me?
Exactly.
What it was called Arthur Riley in her book, This Here Flesh, where she says sometimes God don't want you to ask anything. Sometimes God just want to just be with you. The thing is, we can't just be because we always got a request on our list. Because we always move on to the next thing. And in doing that, we're also missing the other ways that God is trying to get himself to us in that season. Not just with things.
But they said that. I have heard that. When I say they, don't get me after. You're living past prayers, thinking about how many prayers in the past you prayed that God answered, and I feel like that's when it comes with being having gratitude and just being appreciative and grateful.
Exactly. There's this song I listened to by Marvin Sapp called "Thank You for It All." He says, all that I am is because of all that you have brought me through. The person I am today is because of every single trial I've been with, and because of those times where I just sat with God and said, God, just show me your presence. Just let me be with you. And that has made me so strong and made me who I am in my faith.
I love that song.
That's so good.
Yeah, I like that. One thing I like also just in scripture is just how near. So Pastor Jig also got done preaching to Elijah, starting the series.
That's good.
And just looking at Elijah's story, just seeing the nearness of God in the silence. Of drawing close to Elijah, not in this chaotic noise, but just in the silence. And it just shows God is constantly meeting us right where we are. Not always in the grand demonstrative things, but just in there. So when you said that, it's just God is all right. Yeah. So let's go to, time has quickly gone by. See, I told y'all, time go by quick. So in this season, what does it mean for you to be focused on God? Right where you are.
I was about to answer the question. I'm like, really just being intentional about spending time with God. If it's, reading my Bible or, doing a devotional or, just kind of taking time out throughout the day to just pray or, maybe doing a fast or something. But it's really about being intentional about the time, because I know I was on a journey and I'm like, you know what? I want to read the Bible every day, but then I quickly lost sight of, the actual messages that I was reading and trying to understand them and apply them to my life. Then it was just like, I'm reading, just to stay already. So I had to go back and I'm like, okay, God, help me be more intentional about digesting this, And so for me, it's being intentional about, spending time with God and, trying to draw closer to Him.
I like that. And what does it mean, right where you are, whatever you may be going through, what does it mean just for you to focus on God right now?
I think trying to silence out all the noise. Like you were saying earlier, it's just so much noise, but when you silence it all out and you just look to Him, you just kind of feel like an inner peace. Like, you know what? I know I'm hearing this and that, but with you, you got it all for me. Like, I don't even have to worry about this. You have it for me, so I'm good.
So how do you silence the noise?
I have to be in my Bible. Like, because I just feel like I get so anxious sometimes, but every single night I have to sit down and do something, whether it's like I take notes during each of Pastor's sermons. I might just sit down and go through and read one of his sermons. And I also talk about my weeks, and every single time I write my notes, and I'll read back what I was going through that week. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I was so nervous about X, Y, and Z that week. Look at me now. That does not even matter. I'm like, all this noise I'm hearing, I'm so nervous. 2 weeks from now, I'm not even going to care. Let me calm down and relax and trust God.
I like that. Yeah. I like that. That's good. That's good. You two over here.
I mean, I like what you said. Like, just calming down and trusting in God.
Easier said than done, but
I struggle with that myself. And I think it just goes back to like feeling like at times like you can control the outcome.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You know, and then like when life happens, you're like, dang, I really don't control it. So I think that's the one thing that I'm like still wrestling with and working through myself. So focusing on that.
Okay, so I have a question now. And then we'll get back to the other question.
No worries.
How do you let go of control?
I think that answer is different for everybody, honestly.
Elaborate differently then.
I don't think I ever feel like I truly have control over anything. Really, I mean, maybe in my younger years, but like now it's just like, you know what, you're not controlling none of this. You know what I'm saying? So it's just, you have to adapt that kind of mindset. It takes a long time to adapt it, but
Yeah, and a while ago I saw this picture on Pinterest. That was my source. And it was like a piece of rope wrapped around a hand, and like it was so tight. Yeah. And then literally once it let go, it was fine. And every time I've ever tried to hold on to something I wasn't forgot, I feel so much peace after. Yeah. So whatever I feel called to let go of, like once I do it, I just have a peace. Like I know God got me. One closed door is an amazing door with Him. Like it's going to be something else amazing opening. Yeah. So I just find peace in knowing like God knows what's best for me more than I know.
See, for me, letting go of control actually comes after I can try to control it. So I try to exhaust every option I have, every bit of power I have in me, every bit of energy. Yeah. And then when I finally it's like the headache, it's like, you know what? Clearly, you know that.
And I love that He loves us all through it. Like knowing that we tried, He's still like, okay, I still got you though, my child. Like you tried it, but I'm gonna go ahead and take it through it. And I love that He loves us too.
Yeah. I feel like sometimes you have to get to that point though, of just doing it your way, trying to do it your way, so that then you can see God has been here all along. And God has the answer you need. So sometimes, right, you focus on yourself, hinders you from focusing on God.
Yeah.
You're trying to exhaust
Yeah.
all the control.
And what I was saying, that just made me remind myself of like how a lot of people like to say I'm the main character.
Mhm.
And I actually watched a Bible study. I didn't know which one. I gotta get better with my sources.
The source of
Right. Give your life to Christ, like you're not the main character anymore. Like God is the main character now. Living like Jesus, trying to be your best self, love, you know. And I was one of the people that, I'm the main character of my life. Like I get to pick and choose, but I don't. Essentially,
I think, the question I would have is just, why would you want to be the main character?
right?
I know I said this in a Bible study with the young adults like a while ago, but it's never a burden choosing God.
It's never. Never like the guy.
It's not a burden choosing God. And we got to stop viewing it as if we're missing out on something.
FOMO.
I don't know what that means.
You're missing out.
That's a little bit personal.
Maybe it's the thing. Like you were saying, how you have class early in the morning with everybody else.
Yeah.
But you're doing the right thing by not going out that night.
Exactly.
But in the moment, it can feel like, I'm missing out. Everybody posted on their story they're at this party. But no, you didn't miss out on anything.
Exactly.
So that fear of missing out is real. Right? The same party will be there. Same song. Same rule each and every time.
Mm-hmm. You just really have to know it's not a burden choosing God. God is not burdening you. You may lose some of your friend points. You may not be as popular anymore, but God really does have better for you.
Yeah, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And I think we ought to also preface this is saying we're not also saying to be perfect.
Right.
Right. We're not saying to be perfect.
It's real. Perfectionism is real.
I'm not gonna look your way.
Everybody, that's who this source is. She always tell me like, you're not Jesus. Like I never can be truly perfect.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we do ask for forgiveness of our sins. And I do I struggle with that, but I've just been living by progress over perfection.
I love that. That was the Caya topic. Okay, so you remember, yeah. And I have to do a part 2 of practice, not perfection, because it's a lifelong journey. Honestly,
it's not
letting go.
God.
And just for me, that's also why I have so much of a hard time letting go, because I'm a perfectionist. So, it's like, sorry, God. I'm trying to make it as big as I can, and then I'll turn to you. But no, it's a lifelong journey. Just like what we said before, it's not a microwave experience with God. It's in your crock pot.
Yeah.
This thing on 50.
Yeah.
Not 375. And this thing will get done in 10 years. Yeah. And then when it get done, you got to turn it over and take it out and add some things to it. We are in our time, but so that we all can focus on God, right? What would it mean? So here's some practices that we all can do to help to center ourselves better on God. It's a practice one that I learned in seminary. It's you end every day reflecting. Specifically, you want to get yourself in a quiet spot and just reflect on each and every encounter and experience you had on that day. And then once you do that, you want to specifically look for the times where God may have been trying to speak to you or reaching out for you. It's a specific practice of where you're trying to go and trace God's presence in your life throughout that day. Because God is constantly revealing yourself, but because of things move too fast, right?
Ways.
And the
Be more mindful. I really like that.
It's kind of like a meditative practice. Now, mind you, your mind can start going all types of places. And you might get convicted. You might get
conviction is just love, because it really says when He disciplines us in that way, like it's out of love, like a parent. So I embrace the conviction.
Yeah, that's how you grow.
Yeah.
That really is how you grow. Being shown when you've done something wrong. And then lastly, as we close, clearly you gotta read your Bible. As I said in the Bible study, how do you know the Master is speaking to you and you don't know the Master's voice?
Right.
You don't know what the Master says.
You know the author.
You gotta know the author. The Master self, and you don't even know how the Master revealed God's self, right? So you gotta read pray, but do these things in community.
Yeah.
You will see things that you don't see.
We are
And
community.
you can't be isolated. We are a communal people.
That is correct.
That's the human experience, but it's also the Christian experience. We are a communal people. We grow and learn in community. All right. So we are just about done. We have about 3 books I want to recommend to you all tonight. I want to thank you all for joining. These panelists are great. I'm going to go ahead and clap. I know you already did the virtual clap. But to just give you all 3 books so that you can read and use to enhance your own focus on God. One, The Spiritual Life by Evelyn Underhill. This is a book about your relationship with God, helping you to see God more clearly in your own personal life, where God may be revealing God's self to you. Read the Bible in 52 weeks. You recommended that, didn't you?
Yes, for women, it's great. And they have, after you finish your series, then they have some questions for you to answer, and then they give you something to reflect on for the week.
What was week 17 scripture?
Didn't I say I was?
And then we have finally the Let God podcast. So Kim, I believe you recommend that. So.
Yes, it's a bunch of Black women sitting together, admitting their faults, laughing, having fun, but keeping it God-centered, saying, how can we grow past this trial, this thing, how can we keep getting better every day? Because sometimes they say they let things trip them up, and that's okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, everything trip us up, and that's okay.
Progress.
Really good.
Well, fam, we are so glad that you joined us on tonight. We hope that this was a rich conversation for you all, that you all were blessed. We look forward to seeing you next month. Next month, we have Ask the Pastor. We're going to have Pastor here on the hot seat.
That's right.
Answer our questions. But we're looking forward to just a rich discussion next month. Until then, y'all be safe. We'll see y'all soon.
Bye. All right.